actually wanted to tell you one thing I love about this time of year is the music. I love Christmas music. And I was listening the other day, and they started on radio. You know, you do 24 hours a day, you can listen to your Christmas music. Of course, Christmas music here, we'll have it here in this service and in our traditional service. It's all wonderful to hear. It's a real blessing to be able to be inspired by it. I tell you, one of the ones I like the best, it's actually one of the secular songs I like. Tell me if you like this one or you know this one. It's the one, I think it's called, It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year.
Thank you.
No, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sing it. I will recite some of the lyrics though, because I was listening to it the other day, and I love it. It just gets me in the Christmassy mood. Listen, it's the most wonderful time of the year. And I started listening to it, and it's got a nice little tune, and then it was, and I'll tell y'all, I didn't tell the first service this. One thing I like about it, I mean, I like the tune and I like the words, but I like the fact that the guy who wrote it also wrote the theme to Gilligan's Island. There's something about that I like, because that's another song I really like, is the theme to Gilligan's Island. No, but I was listening to it the other day, and I realized that all these things that he's mentioning in the song, they're like Christmassy things to do. And I realized I don't do any of them. I don't do any of the things he's talking about as being Christmassy things. Like there's the verse that says, there'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for roasting, and caroling out of the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories, and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. No, I don't do any of those things. And then he goes on to say, with the kids jingle belling, and everyone telling you be of good cheer. And my kids have never jingle belled. I've never seen them jingle bell at any time, and I've never been told in my entire life to be of good cheer. It's actually not true. I've been told 3 times since the last service to be of good cheer from people who heard the sermon. But no, I've never heard that before, be of good cheer. So what is it about this song that I like so much? What is it? It doesn't relate to my life. It's not what I love about Christmas. I don't do these things. Well, I think it's the idea of anticipation. I love that part of Christmas, and I always have, and I used to feel it very strongly when I was a child. The feeling of anticipation. In fact, it would come upon me so strongly when I was a child that time would be warped. Do you remember this? How time was different when you were a child? How it would slow down, and time never got slower there during Christmas and the Advent season, waiting for Christmas to come. Did anybody else make those rings out of construction paper, rings that you put up in your room and you cut off one every day? It seemed like that thing was in my room for like years, and it just never got to cut off. And it went so slowly. It looked so long there. It's probably just 25 things. And to me, it's going to be forever until Christmas. But I'll tell you, and that was hard, but it gave me this great feeling. I was looking forward to it so much. It's this feeling of anticipation. And anticipation is a great thing, because what anticipation is being able to take pleasure from the future. That's a pretty nice thing. Take pleasure, not from something that's happening to you right now, but take pleasure from the future. See, that's something I think we're all entitled to. In fact, I think we're all promised that. It's a part of our faith. It's a part of the relationship with God, and it has been for many, many years. You look at the verse we read for today, and the idea of God coming to Abram. And God doesn't come to his people. God hardly ever came to the people and said, here, this is what I'm giving you. I am giving you this now. Surprise. God hardly ever surprised the people with a gift. No, what God would say is, hey, get ready. Here's what I'm going to give you. Here's what you have to look forward to. Here's what you have to get excited about. And so over and over, God did this with his people. God did it with Abraham in the covenant. Here, I'm going to give you a covenant. And then later on, I'm going to give you a promised land. And then later on, I'm going to give you a king. And then I'm going to give you a Messiah. And each one of these, God gave them plenty of advance notice. Why? So they can anticipate it. So they can look forward to it. It's a big part of our faith today, and it's something I want to be thinking about as we keep going through this Advent season together. We're on this journey together now toward Christmas, through Advent, and this idea of anticipation. I want you to feel it in your life because it's one of God's greatest gifts to us. And we see it like in the story for today. We see the God promising. He doesn't even, the verse we read today wasn't God giving Abraham the covenant. It was him saying, I'm going to give you this covenant. It's going to happen. But first you need to do this and this, and you think about it and get ready for it and anticipate it. And think about how wonderful it's going to be. This gift of anticipation, and it was a big gift because let me tell you, at that moment in the history of God and his people, it hadn't gone too well for human beings. You look back, and this is the 12th verse of Genesis, and what's happened so far in Genesis between God and his people? Well, the earth was created, and God created us, which was wonderful. That's great. We can celebrate that. But no sooner have humans been created than Adam and Eve are expelled from the garden. And then once one of their sons kills the other son. And then there's a flood that destroys the whole world because everybody in the world was so evil. And then right after the flood, the people didn't learn. They started building this Tower of Babel that God didn't like. And the tower gets knocked down. I mean, so far in the history of God's relationship with his people, it's all been us messing up and then God punishing us for it. And that looked like what it was going to be. Our relationship with God was going to be that kind of relationship. Us doing something wrong and then getting punished for it. And God didn't want that. And so it all changes. Here in this 12th chapter of Genesis, God comes to Abraham and he gives him something to look forward to. Something to anticipate. He doesn't give him everything right there at that moment. No, it's a journey that Abraham is going to be on. And so he tells him in the 12th chapter there, I'm going to make a covenant with you. I'm going to make a new promise with you, a new agreement with you. And then we wait. And it's not for 3 or 4 more chapters until years later in the life of Abram that actually comes to making a covenant. And then God makes the covenant with Abram. And guess what? It's all about the future too. You know, someday I'm going to give you a son. And someday he's going to have children. And someday they're going to become a great nation. And someday it's going to be a blessing to everyone. Well, you think, gosh, it would be nice to get that gift. It'd be nice if Abraham had that gift. But God gave him the gift of looking forward to it. Hoping for it. Knowing that it was going to happen someday. Imagine how that would have helped him. Imagine the difference in the life of Abraham. He'd gone from, no relationship with God, or at least this relationship where God just seems to punish us, and we seem to do things wrong. And now it's a relationship where Abraham has something to look forward to. Something to anticipate every day. Imagine how that helped him through his low times. And imagine how it kept him focused on God when everything was going great. Everything was going terrific, but he's still staying focused on God. Because he knows this promise is coming. This covenant is ahead. These promises that God has made, Abraham's waiting for them. Imagine even on his deathbed, he was the first one to ever be able to close his eyes for the last time and to say, my family is taken care of. Not just materially, not just because they had the land, they had this relationship with God. To know that they were going to be okay. When we come to this table every week, we say that Christ offers us the cup, saying, this is the new covenant in my blood. You see, we as Christians have been offered a new promise. And just like the old promise, a lot of it, yes, it's about anticipation. It's about being able to live every day of our lives, no matter where we are in our lives, beginning, middle, toward the end. And to know that there are good things ahead for us, both here in this world and in the world to come. We should, as Christian folk, be able to wake up every day, not just during Advent, but every day of our lives anticipating the blessings, the fulfillment, all that God has to offer us, the days, the weeks, the years to come. And knowing, too, that when it all ends and when we lay down our heads and close our eyes for the last time, that even then we are taken care of through God's Son, Jesus Christ. What are the next 4 weeks going to hold for you? What do you want from this journey here, from this moment to Christmas Day and beyond? Do you want to feel closer and closer to God each day as we get closer to Christmas? Would you like to feel closer to your family and your friends, closer to your co-workers, closer to the strangers that you meet on the street? What do you want from this Christmas? What are you anticipating from it? Remember, anticipation, it is an act of faith. An act of faith. We say, we look at our futures, we think about what we hope they will be, what we want them to be. We have a good story about what we want from this Christmas, from this Advent. And we take that leap of faith and God responds by helping us to get there. Helping us take the steps we need to get to that place that we want to get to, that we're looking forward to getting to. It's an act of faith. So let me ask again, what are you looking forward to in the next 4 weeks ahead? What are you anticipating? Let's bow in prayer. Loving God, thank you for giving us the ability to look to our future with hope and to get pleasure out of what we know and what we want to be there. Loving God, help us to have a good picture of what this Christmas season is going to be. Help us to anticipate all the best things, and then, Lord, help us to turn to you to see what we need to do to make that vision come true. It is in Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.